opportunities we have this year. So here, you want
So, Dan, do you just want me to start talking about what the applications that we might do, or did you have the presentation?
Well, I think just a general overview of, your proposed scope and what typically what grant applications that would cover would be the place to start.
Okay, perfect. So the proposed scope is pretty much, it's pretty similar to what we've done every year. There's small modifications as we evolve for each year. So it's the same in terms of the general monthly time spent on exploring funding sources and attending any meetings if needed and preparing resolutions, anything like that. Going to the meetings if needed. And then specifically, the big piece of it, of course, is up to 3 grant applications through the 2025 consolidated funding application process, which is due end of July. And then, and I can get into a little bit of what that might be for. But then also, I had put on here sort of some flex options for additional grants, like doing another grant under New York, possibly a federal grant application for congressionally directed spending, which actually just moved out today, and that's due at the end of March. We want to do that, and then any additional grant applications at the LDC's discretion, up to a certain number of hours, and then also if needed, like the preparation of fundraising packages or project narratives, anything like that. So just some flex hours in there as needed. And then in terms of specific grants that we had talked about, we talked about the LDC's priorities for the year probably being looking for funding for ball fields, maybe some money for evaluations of the existing DPW site, like grants that possibly would support environmental cleanup or a study, additional investigation of remediation needs. If possible, anything for the UAW site, like money to develop it. You have a developer lined up and plans there. And it's on your floor project list, which gets good opportunity, good application for another additional supplementary grant. Also the DPW salt shed, and then the next phase of 64, 68 Beekman, if that is right. And then that was what we had discussed, but also if my recommendation, if we wanted to go with a congressionally directed spending application, is that we could put in another application for the bridge, because that's really, this would be a place where you would apply a lot of money. It's still a long shot, but the pot is there. So
this is over the railroad.
mm-hmm.
What's the grant max there? 20? Was it 20?
So they just announced it was open today. Didn't get into the details yet, but I could.
Was there a max? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the max is nowhere. Like, I don't think we would. It'd be possible for us to hit the max in terms of the request, but we would want to make it reasonable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to be less likely to fund something that they can't.
So they fund things like design efforts.
So they want to fund the construction of the infrastructure.
So they want to
but
see.
that doesn't mean you can't include the design. But
And what's the match on that?
Oh, is that what you asked? Match? I thought you said max.
yeah,
Oh, I asked Max at the beginning, but then I just asked Max. Very similar words. Yeah, sure.
They mean different things.
Right, very different, yeah, yeah.
So you see the red button on the cameras, it says electric.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Just to tell you, last time we had requested, we had put in for a $30,000 project and had requested 15,000 in commercial directed spending, had a $5,000 local match plus additional $6,000 that had already been committed. And then there's the state grant that's been awarded, for 3.58. It was the 1.58. Work that in there because of some of the, the site readiness stuff, and then 2 million that's still sitting there waiting to be used that we have. So we already have that match, because you can match federal funds with state funds as well. So that's just maybe what we have.
So federal funds are still viable?
Hmm?
The federal funds are still viable?
I mean, the 2 million state
I
funds.
thought you,
Sorry, yeah. I was saying that we can match federal funds and state funds can be used.
But sorry, I missed the match. So if we apply for, let's say we,
apply for
30 million.
$25 million bridge, what
40
would
million,
the match be?
could make it nice. Stone, all stone, covered. Like the headless horseman.
restaurant space.
Yeah,
Pickleball.
yeah. Don't say that too loud.
You can get back to us.
I know, sorry, I had to connect. And now we got it.
And also, Jenny, in addition to the match requirement, what kind of a grant is it? Is it one we be able to draw on throughout, or? do we
Yeah.
wait for the end?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question. I would imagine that it's.
Along the way,
Yeah.
because they're bigger
It's usually the
projects.
ESG grant. Typically that one, you have to like do the whole thing and,
Right.
but I, don't quote me on that. I
Yeah.
want to confirm with you. Now. Okay, so it depends on the category that we select. It looks like most of them fund up to 75%. But it depends on the specific category. Yeah, about 15% match for this one. Okay, so.
Yeah, I remember that being the case. When we added.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, there's another 1.5%. Yeah, so it looks to be possible.
Okay. The only other thing I would say is, I don't know if we've thought about the, flood, like the other part of the east parcel, the north part next to Debris and the Pecanico River. I feel like that is a floodplain. There's probably, I would think there would be programs that would focus on floodplain mitigation, basically, that we could potentially, because I think that whole park was designed to be a floodplain mitigation.
Floodable,
Yeah,
yeah.
floodable and absorbing like a sponge. So
Tell me, it's just.
Yeah.
I'm adding.
it's already designed.
Anywhere again?
So the east parcel,
The north
the north part
East.
next,
corner near the.
the
Pecanico?
whole edge of that is next to the Pecanico River. And it is a floodplain, basically, that has been designed to act as a sponge, so that in flooding events, it would assist surrounding communities.
Was that boardwalk considered the Horseman's Trail in that
The
original?
Horseman's Trail is in that, is it part of the design?
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
remember if that was.
I don't think it's a boardwalk, but it is something similar. Yeah, but that's whole thing. Yeah, if we got money for that, it would include the Horseman's Trail because that's along the river.
So I had applied and we maybe the funds were redirected, but we had received grant funds for the Horseman's Trail.
I think the
project.
previous administration moved that across the street and did it on the other side. Is that right?
But yeah, if you could look into that, Jenny,
Across the street.
if there's anything.
Across the
we can
river,
do.
sorry, yeah. Yeah,
Good trail network.
We did
That-
the,
yeah.
just, east of the field too, on the,
yeah,
so the north, western piece of it, and across the,
yes.
so we also have like, park.
You mean the 250 for debris?
That was 250, was it, or?
How come money was 250 and the,
So did we,
yeah,
Good actually get it.
okay, so we could use that for the horseman's
Grant.
trail.
We can talk more about this one and
the
the
Horseman's
bridge.
Trail is still available, like, meaning that's something that I would put in the application.
Yeah, I mean, that whole part has been designed. There's like a foresty type thing. There's a play space. There's a,
Just looking at.
yeah, the thing. Yeah, I'll get the thing.
I mean, the Margie.
So the,
Yeah, the Margie Reddick one. I'll trot it out.
yeah, no, it would be great to see. The first thing that comes to mind, although it comes to mind and then I'm also sort of discussing it, it's probably not the best option, is the Green Infrastructure Grant Program, which is usually available through the CFA. But that is a very, very like, rigorous, the grant application is, I mean, you have to have like percentages of like, you know, what types of routes you're gonna be filtering and like, it's a very, very technical grant application. So it's like, they want serious green infrastructure. So if we don't have that kind of data, then it
Yeah,
probably isn't the right grant application, but that's the first grant I think of that aims to what you're.
yeah.
I'm not sure what type of infrastructure we're planning on the site.
I'm sorry if I didn't say it correctly. I meant green infrastructure, like, okay.
But I'm not sure what.
Yeah, I think, look,
Papers and all that stuff.
there's limited grants we can apply for every year, so I think you bring up a good point and discussed it before. Jenny can look into whether or
Yeah.
not there's an opportunity
Yeah.
this year
Yeah.
to actually get it in. If not, we can prepare for it next
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Um, I'm sorry?
I was gonna ask a question. But are shovel-ready projects better for grants?
Oh, yes. For sure. Especially, I mean, the more approvals that are in place, better.
Okay, yes.
Like if it's already gone through the secret process.
Okay, right.
So, yeah, there's the shoreline restoration.
Yeah. Floodplain forest. I feel like the terminology is
So none of that has been done.
none, yeah,
Boardwalk.
none of that.
Whatever.
Meadow and event parking, amphitheater,
Yeah.
behind the woodland meander, drainage swale.
Concept.
Have you been to Rogers? It's kind of beautiful.
And what's our estimate on this? It was like 20 or 30 million, right? It was almost as much as the bridge on all that stuff.
Full, I mean, yeah, like everything.
Yeah, that
part
side,
was,
yeah.
With, yeah, in the 20 to 30 million. I don't remember if that included any.
I think it did now that we're talking about it.
Fields and
Yeah.
stuff.
I think there's gonna be a lot of opportunities for grants. on
Yeah,
that side.
I think so too, big time.
We still have some work to do to determine what we wanna do.
They're already kind of doing some stuff.
Yeah.
The same potentially on the.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, we applied for the multipurpose field through LWRP again, but did not get that this year. What we did get was this, performance space, that was already conceptualized by the Woodard and Curran team that's advancing, the promenade and the courts and the skate park. So we're still waiting for the incentive proposal from the state on that, since this was literally just awarded at the end of or early this year. So that's one thing, Jenny, that, as we get that incentive proposal and as we still haven't finalized the design build amendment for the other things, to see if it's possible to combine those two grants into one project.
There's some stuff here.
Like
The
the pro housing grant
with with the LWRP from the previous year?
Correct. Like, since we have the LWRP project basically ready to go to permitting and construction, could we fast track what we applied for in the pro housing? Since, I mean, Woodard and Curran kind of already did a concept design. It's really just a matter of making sure we don't have to go through a whole, like a public input process and things that they usually like to see. Or maybe pro housing is like, nope, can't combine these funds with any other grant funds.
Okay.
But we can just, yeah, it's just a question to see if we can,
I think as long as you put in the map, the required local, like, I think it's a catch match for this one too, like
Right.
it usually is with ESD stuff. I think as long as you do that it's okay to.
yeah, I think it's more a question of, would the state have any issues with us, negotiating this, right, almost sole source with the project team we already have in place versus it going through its own bidding process for design and construction and that kind of thing. So that's usually though what we kind of discuss when we get the incentive proposal and we see, they give us the requirements and so, but we can follow up as we get the more details on the pro housing.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is all shovel ready.
Yeah.
Other grants you can probably-
How far south are we talking in terms of what you would want me to look for? If we're looking at the Meadow and event parking, shoreline restoration, floodplain.
This doesn't.
I mean, how far south are we?
I think anything, anything north of Continental.
The other question is it just, like, there's also like the demo of concrete and, all the cleaning. Once you crack that open, is there mitigation? All you have to do?
We gotta put clean fill back over top.
Is that it?
That's number one. Yeah, it has to be recapped.
Are you
So
still
you're
doing
just capping?
the special pavers? The
Activity field and event parking.
Yeah.
It goes up there.
That's,
Yeah.
That's something that we
Yeah.
still need to be
Up there.
further.
Permeable pavers, that could be a.
I think this was intended to be
Mhm. And then this one, which is, I think, probably tied to the grant, it sounds like the one part we didn't do based on the funding includes phragmites removal, which I don't know what that is. But it
Phragmites?
sounds- Phragmites sounds like something that a grant would be interested in,
Under the. The one
but that was on this side.
You're saying over here.
Yeah,
Got it.
got it.
Yeah, so in this picture, this is what you use for the grant. So you'll see A, B, C, and D is what we did. E is this on this, yeah.
Got it.
So that's the connecting, that's the river in the middle.
D,
Put it on here.
meaning on the other side of the
It's
camp.
just. All the other ones. It's-
This, I got it, okay, okay, yeah. Got it.
it's so-
E is what's not shown.
Floodplain. Nothing, I was just looking at that, whoever named this did a good job.
We can talk more about this, over time here.
Okay.
I think, Jenny's got a proposal that's already kind of almost full. She's got flex hours and we'll have to just kind of rethink, not rethink, but see if there's anything we can slot in there this year. Because the requirements for so many of these projects are to be pretty far along in your design, so we'll keep talking about it. Good ideas.
And was there anything, Dan, did you have questions or you were to raise it about the student?
Just the pro housing, but we can circle back offline.
That's it, right? you've got several grants that you're gonna work on, and then as we discuss more opportunities, or you identify more opportunities, get in there
Yes.
by the deadlines.
And was there anything, was the issue about the timing, like the term of the contract already solved or?
What's in there is your proposal that you forwarded, so
Got it.
from effective the,
Kind of runs through this time next year.
Yeah.
Usual.
Yeah, it runs, it's now running for the calendar year. So it will run through December.
Okay. Well, you've been flexible
Anyways.
there. All right, any other questions for Jenny? Great, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Good to see you.
Let's have another celebratory year and get some more grants.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, man.
Hey. They're all wired in. Okay, with that, why don't we just jump right to resolution to take on Jenny for coming year, work on all these grants, and we're gonna questions on the resolution.
Motion to adopt resolution agreement, authorizing agreement between the LDC and Pace University First Land Use Law Center.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Okay. Great. And I'll move on to the minute, February. Edits, questions, changes.
Motion to adopt the minutes of February 10th.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Expenditures. Couple of these, there's some. You've got the MTA, which we just got.
yeah, so the MTA, they originally given an estimate of about 100,000. They later revised that upwards. They are, I mean, they're probably, the last invoice that I've seen, and not really an invoice, it's just by the time they do their accounting, was back in October. So they're like 3-4 months behind. So that's the best estimate.
And what does this run through?
This would run through the completion of everything the contractor had to do with the potential to foul the track. So it basically, this estimate is everything that's owed to Metro North through about mid-January. And then would get us through,
Okay,
an additional 3 to 4 weeks.
we don't need to talk about it now, but this is an item that will go into the sewer recovery money. It's a part of the delay. And you want to just talk about this Sean Wan's trench or tranche,
Yep, so the 1.269, this is about a, I think, 5 to 6 week time period. So this covers all of January plus about a week or so into February. A bulk of this is for the completion of the precast wall, all of the earthwork behind the wall, the concrete moment slabs that were poured, I think last week, and some other miscellaneous, utility work.
So contract.
All contract work. Yes, this is just main phase 2 contract work. And these, if all goes well, should continue over the next 2.5, 3 months of invoices in this range as they wrap up utilities, curbing, sidewalk, and ultimately paving.
okay. And the Woodward Kern piece, this is,
Woodard and Curran, yep, that's part of the, our design contract that we had with them to progress the courts, skate park, and promenade. So they still have, I think, about 90,000 in their budget. that basically gets them from now until the project actually goes to construction.
This is a part of the 90?
This is a part of the 360,000, 69, no, sorry. After approving this, they still have 90,000 left in their
In the
design budget. Yep.
Okay.
Are they currently working?
There are things that, this is going back 2 months. This is 2 months worth of billings. So this really covers, you know, a bulk of what they were doing, you know, when we had to look into other options for increasing the size of the courts. And obviously there's things that are going on, behind the scenes as they review the design build amendment, to get that contract ready to execute.
They're slated to come in at or below budget.
Yeah, they will not exceed the 360,000.
Okay.
Nothing from them.
Any, other questions on expenditures?
Yeah, one other one I just wanted to point out is that underneath Metro North is the Quality Environmental Solutions. So remember, they were the third-party air quality monitoring company that came in to oversee the demolition of 193 Beekman. So that's essentially their final invoice. I think we came in like maybe $700 or $800 under what they originally quoted. To do that work. They had submitted a kind of a closeout package, they call it, that just documented all the days, all the times they were there,
A report.
It's not really a report, it's just kind of a collection of all of the sampling reports and things like that. So we have a record that nothing was exceeded.
Where does that go? Where does that go?
That
Where's it live?
Well, it lives on Dropbox currently, and we can make a hard copy of it for our records. Yep. But aside from that, that's just their oversight work that's required for the Department of Labor. Additionally, we have the manifests that have come back for the friable and non-friable asbestos. So those will go into the same folder.
Okay.
Documenting that basically the demolition, the backfill, it's 100% completed at this point.
For Woodard and Curran, what else? So I know there's still a decision to be made on the courts, right?
Mhm.
Does that sit with the LDC right now? I mean, the
Board of Trustees.
And we did not, I wasn't there last week, but it wasn't discussed.
It didn't, yeah,
Okay. Do you know if it's on the agenda for tomorrow?
it should be.
Okay, and then there's the draft.
A final decision on the tennis court.
Later, the next.
Are they doing it at the work session? Okay, well.
Makes sense. Okay, so tomorrow is a regular meeting. Okay, okay.
makes
And
sense.
the pictures with the different options, is that? I think somebody sent it to me. I think Benji sent one. Did you send it to
He
me?
might have gotten forwarded, but
Did it go to everybody else?
on the,
At some point, it'll have to go to the trustees or at least be in the packet for discussion.
it was submitted at one point in
Okay.
the packet. It might not have actually made it into
I would
the,
just have that one pager with the different pictures.
Sure.
So the fact that we can fit another court, but then we exclude
right.
football and lacrosse.
I'll resend it to Paula so she can,
Okay.
Yep.
You
Okay.
add me too, so I can look at it.
Great. Anything else? Guys, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve the expenditures.
Second. Wait just a minute.
Aye.
Very good. Next, we'll go to Dan for consultant report.
all right, we'll start as always with what's going on the East Parcel. The sewer approval from the Department of Health. We are still waiting for a verbal approval from the project, person at the Department of Health. WSP delivered a letter this morning that actually specifically requests a verbal approval. Unfortunately, the project manager wasn't there. So they'll be following up again, as well as myself and Dolph. tomorrow, just to try and get a response out of Department of Health. But we anticipate that, that we should get that approval, a verbal approval from the Department of Health this week.
Yeah, you've heard that before. What is that? Is that a Westchester County organization?
So we currently have a permit, with Department of Health that is specifically for that work.
Can I get a
I just
money
can't
back?
believe how long it's taking.
$600?
Hmm?
Yes, we did. I want to flying back.
Yeah, I mean, that's unbelievable. Anthony, you deal with
They're
this?
very short-handed.
It's always somebody's on vacation or somebody's out.
Or they run the whole thing. We experienced that with other projects.
Is there a head of the Department of Health? Is it an elected position? Probably not, right?
No, but there's ways of going our representatives.
Okay,
I don't know if we want to go there.
all right. Okay, Dan.
I'll certainly follow up if I make any headway tomorrow once the guy is back in the office. Other than that, the contractor did start water main tie-in work that they were hoping to complete last week. Given the cold weather and the number of utilities, that work is extending into the beginning of this week, but they should be wrapping that up over the next.
That's the water under Beekman.
Yep, they got all the plates out there right now. And before they backfill anything, they're coordinating with the village water department to just make sure that they get the okay that everything's connected the right way. So hopefully that'll all be backfilled and restored before the end of the week.
They have to sterilize the one.
There is, before it is put into service, I believe there is a treating of everything. But as of right now, there's nothing going into service until the full everything is installed. So they're not there yet.
Is there a stub out for the 193 property?
There's no stub out included for that. They'll be able to,
What's happening?
there's an
Developer,
existing, right. There's existing service that they can probably tap into. They'll likely need their own given whatever.
No fire hydrant.
There's a fire hydrant right in front of the building.
Perfect.
Yep. And there's fire hydrants along
Yeah.
the Clinton Street extension at whatever the interval they're supposed to be. So other work that was completed were the moment slabs for the concrete barriers that go at the top of the wall. All of that backfilling, the leveling of 193 Beekman, and a majority of the site-wide regrading or major earthworks. They still have some fine tuning in certain areas to tie in and with the topsoil and establishing a turf and some of the that type of finish work that'll likely be pushed until we get into the spring when they know they're not going to plant grass seed that's going to get washed away or frozen.
What is all the new material down there on 193? Is that for the road, or is that just going to be a top layer on the?
So it's there's a mix. If from some of the pictures I sent, you're talking about
new plywood by there today.
Oh yeah. So that's a mixture of a combination of things. There's some larger stone chunk, like 6-inch. I wouldn't call it riprap, but it's like a heavier
Like a
stone.
different color. There's
Yep.
a lighter.
So there's some stone that will be placed on the slope where our wall ends, and then between there and Beekman, there's just a pretty steep slope. So they will do some stone reinforcement to that
riprap.
slope. It's a light riprap. Then there's some piles. There's like some sand. There's some
Right.
gravel. That's mostly materials that are going to be used for backfill underneath the water main, the underneath water pipes. They do a sand. So that's just various little. They just have piles kind of scattered throughout the site so that as they're working, they can just grab a bucket.
And then the crib wall issue.
The crib wall issue, well, there's two, right?
Right.
There's the
Two options.
slope. Well, I'm sorry.
Oh.
There's the slope that is going up to Barnhart.
Right.
That issue, I believe, has been addressed. There's
Okay.
going to be some formal drawings issued by WSP tomorrow.
Change order.
Not a change order, I don't think. The limits of what was designed are not changing.
Okay.
They're going to look to putting in very short knee wall,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
To just help them, maintain a 1-on-2 minimum slope in those locations. There's been additional fill placed there since you were out last. So it's not quite as extreme as it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. But then the situation in between the tracks and the roadway, there has not been a final determination made by WSP yet. They are.
Which piece? The
That
gap?
The gap, correct. There are a number of options that have been proposed. They are still working with their geotech or structural engineers to determine what the most expeditious fix.
What motivated them all of a sudden? Something motivated them to address it. Was it
Well,
Shaw's Lawns complaints about it?
ultimately, it was, yes,
Our meetings, but.
from December and January, issues raised by the contractor that it's preventing them from progressing certain work until they certainly can't put in the rest of the concrete barrier until, right, they don't want to build something and then have to excavate to redo.
Demoed differently or was?
It was. So it was, in the original design, they were not supposed to take out any of the existing wall that was there. So effectively you had 2 walls that overlapped, right? But I guess during the course of, the contractor opening everything up, putting in their SOE, the condition of the existing wall was probably less than what they had anticipated once things started getting removed. So they actually did remove a portion of the wall that was supposed to be in front of the new wall that was built. So that's essentially how,
Is this an error in emissions? I mean,
I wouldn't call it an errors and omissions. I think it was something that was probably thought by the designer to not be as big a deal as it actually is. So, I mean, and there, yes, there was it's not an errors and omissions because the actual conditions in the field changed, right, from what they designed. But an appropriate fix was not determined early enough.
what changed?
The portion of when the demo was done, all the existing walls, more of the existing wall was removed than was supposed to have been. The contractor.
Because of the quality of. They took it upon themselves.
Well, I'm not to say that WSP wasn't also involved. I mean, they're out there every day, so they should have known what was going on. But again, I think it was something that they thought wouldn't be an issue until the new wall construction was finished. And then, wow, that gap's a lot bigger than it looks like, on the plans. So now they're trying to come up with an appropriate fix.
Okay, what else you got?
So at least based on all the earthwork, I did walk the site with Rue, who again, they are out there mostly ensuring compliance with our site management plan, which is basically tracking the dirt that's pile to surcharge to behind the wall. Now that the major earthworks have been completing and really the only earthwork that needs to be done is the fine tuning in areas and, trenching to put in the remaining utilities, and they basically backfill they backfill with what they took out. They don't think that they need to be there, and they will prepare a report to DEC and return the U.S. environmental equipment. They may still need to come in as needed, if there's if they're doing something that involves a trench that is deeper than, within clean and, fill and things like that. But there won't be the regular monthly invoices that we've been getting from Rue.
Good, okay.
Beyond maybe months.
There are 45 working days for April 30th. You have a new projected.
No. I have nothing other than the schedule that was presented by the contractor.
So we
at the
did
end of
finally get
December.
one. Oh,
The schedule that shows them meeting at 45 days from now.
Yeah. We can talk about that more.
Okay.
Later.
that's just curious.
I thought you had that on your, I thought you had that as an auto app. It's flashed every day.
Yeah.
You
I
have
gotta go see Patty's. Day.
Right.
Yeah, I do have one.
the whiteboard next to your kitchen sink, right?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
X days since. So just some work over the next couple of weeks. The contractor would like to begin doing some of the drainage and roadway work at Continental Street, which we can get into in a moment. Some ancillary wall work, putting the fencing and the barrier in locations that aren't affected, by the closure pour. And then just site-wide utilities and curbing will start to go in. We'll jump forward into, we talked a little bit about the pro-housing grants already. We are still waiting for the incentive proposal from the state. And once we do have that, I'd like to inquire about the feasibility of trying to lump that in with our current LWRP project, as that's gonna move that project to the finish line, sooner than if it's run as an independent project. But again, it's just something that's being investigated. Our grant administrator is still working on an extension of time and confirmation from the state that the climate smart grant that's for the DPW can be used for a phased DPW project in lieu of a full facility. So she's actually has a call with them on Wednesday.
Just that grant.
What's that?
It's that grant.
That was the $2 million for the DPW. So the hope is that we can use it to do a much smaller phased project.
Who's doing that? Is that Jenny or?
No, that's the grant administrator is Fiona Matthews.
Fiona, right?
Yeah.
That would be great. That would pay for the back of the house storage, vehicle storage, almost half of it.
Right, we
A chunk of it.
need that to.
Yeah, that would be good.
And then lastly, I've also started with Fiona the closeout process, or at least gathering all the information and documentation that's needed for our first CFA grant, which is for the 1.58 million. Nothing can be submitted to the state until the current project is completed, or at least a lot closer to completion than it currently is, because there are photos that are needed as part of that closeout package. Here's a picture of the paved road, things like that, with the lighting. So we could probably get to that, assuming things continue to progress nicely, around, the April timeline. Hopefully we'll get to, if we can at least take it. Look
be
for
great.
completion, so.
That's an immediate reimbursement.
That immediate in that it still takes about 9 months from when it was put in for them to,
No way.
that's their timeline.
So next year.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my
Is
goodness.
they have to do presentations and public meetings on the state side, and there's a whole separate contract that they issue so that we can receive the funds.
If that's the case, what is the entire timeline?
That
It's gotta be like 5 years.
no, well, from when we first started.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started January of 2019
Oh, wow.
was when we first started tracking.
We got awarded the grant.
in late 2018.
Right. Okay, what else you got?
So I spoke with the Sean McCarthy of the building department, and 100 College Arms, Marathon Development would like to present their subdivision development project to the LDC at our next board meeting. They're also coordinating with the village boards to try
For the
and,
new construction.
How does that involve us?
well, because if you remember back.
They want to do the bonds, the same bond.
This could be
Interesting. Okay.
or similar,
Okay.
but same process or similar process. But essentially a separate bond issuance from the LDC. So we'll learn more details about that project.
Popular products. these days.
Oh, it doesn't hurt.
Raise our prices.
And then I'll end with talking just briefly about some of the security improvements or security related items down at the east parcel. The arm bar was damaged, about a week or two ago. Was run through by a DPW truck. The estimate to repair was about $2,500, that the village paid for. However, given where we are at with the timing of the contractor wanting to close Continental Street for a couple of weeks or until the road is rebuilt, and the fact that part of that is they're raising the roadway a foot or two, it makes the arm bar less usable in that, in that particular area. And also begs the question of, is that something that we wish to retain, the security trailer,
Okay,
And
we
arm
can
bar.
deal with that later.
so.
Just make sure Anthony doesn't forget he owes us $2,500.
We want that money no matter what.
And
And the cameras,
then the cameras as well, I forwarded, just
get
some,
back from the 20 million.
say that again?
We walk it back from the 20 million cameras that.
No. Well, both the DPW super and the chief of police, agree with the coverage that's proposed there. Also consider that, moving forward, right, we have a combination of multiple things. Active construction locations. We're gonna have public interface once the new road and new parks are open. And the DPW is still gonna be using all or most of certain areas. So while at a certain point in the future, once the DPW construction, if that moves forward as either a full project or phased, they would have their own security cameras, and what the LDC operates could be reduced, moving forward. And likewise, as portions of the project are, essentially completed, right? So using, the soccer field, skate park, once that was fully, completed to where, it's a road, it's a public space,
Figure that out. down the road.
the
Bottom line is we have 18 cameras working, and now that everybody has the app, we can make sure that if anybody has suggestions on coverage that isn't on there,
Mhm.
certainly speak up. But we have 4 cameras that have come down in the vault. So if we didn't want to place a new camera, we already own it. So
Yeah.
we can place it.
For example, we had 2 cameras at 193 Beekman that were mounted on the building, so we could see
Yeah.
behind and to the side of the property. Those were obviously removed when the building came down. We have in that proposed map, a camera going up, kind of at the limits of the new wall, right? So that we can basically have a camera that would look at what would potentially be a future redevelopment site.
Yeah.
It's less about monitoring who's coming in and out and more when that does go to construction, right? We've got a camera that can see, in case there's any incidents and things like that. So
To the police.
the police have access to our cameras. They can see it. We maintain the servers, in
Yeah.
that guard booth and the 3 months. So typically, if there is an incident, they would usually ask me
So does the DPW.
Yep.
Village has access.
to go back and look at the footage. So I don't believe they have direct access to like the servers to.
No, that's, I just,
Yeah,
it would be nice if they could.
they can log
Back
in.
if they want. Yeah.
We
Do you
can
have-
do what we do.
Do you have a timeline on the fence? I know we talked about fencing off the,
Yep.
yeah,
That would really coincide with the completion of the roadway project. So
so theoretically in the next few months.
I would say no sooner than probably May. I
Okay.
think I put it in like for around.
And does that include the fence along the edge here that would allow for access?
Let me just see where you're.
We talked about connecting debris to the new Continental Street, so Continental's coming in here.
Oh, right, yes, there is,
And then we talked about fencing that either here or bringing it over across here.
right, we left it somewhat open. I mean, there's several hundred feet of fencing.
Yeah.
That as we get, closer to the point of need, we can adjust the limits to say, oh, we actually want it closer to the HHV boundary or.
Yeah, but that would be that timing. So within,
That would be, yeah, like this summer.
so we can start talking about within the next 6 months, we'll be able to walk from DeVries all the way through this way. So you'd be able to do a big loop from DeVries up through to Barnhart and then around the Riverwalk to Kingston. And then, Yeah.
No, in theory.
that'll be popular. This will be a big deal. So
Okay.
everybody here are gonna really like being able to walk.
Yep.
Cause then right now you gotta go all the way out to Broadway. It's really annoying.
way.
Yeah, and this is like a huge shortcut, especially once the Chico's opens over here.
Yeah, the only other consideration there is that because right now the DPW
Uses this gate.
uses this gate, so they have a separate gate that's, at the end of the day, it's locked. No.
Yeah, so we'd have to change that.
If the DPW if we do kind of like a relook, move them into the new
Yeah.
area or a portion.
You could do the same thing as in Kingsland. There could be a pedestrian.
Yeah, but right,
Right.
make an
You
opening.
just have the path, yeah.
Yep.
And I'm thinking the exact same thing that was by the Riverwalk while the
Yeah.
edge on Hudson was being built. It was just gravel
Mhm.
with a chain link fence. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's it. Our next meetings or meetings upcoming in March would be the 10th and the 24th.
Okay.
2 weeks and 4 weeks.
Okay, any other,
If anybody
Okay.
is available March 5th, we're doing sexual harassment class here lot with somebody. I did send everybody the link. If you didn't get it, let me know, to take the workplace violence. These are mandatory classes that we have to take every year.
I took mine and I got 100%.
Okay, you gotta send me your certificate, otherwise that doesn't mean
I-
anything.
I emailed it to you.
Okay.
I haven't seen that, Joan.
This Here is at 10:15 and 1:30.
The workplace violence one is in
Which one?
workplace violence one. Is it the same guy who did it?
No, no.
Okay, never mind.
Oh, it's awful.
It's so, right?
You have to take it twice. Once for each.
No, I
Does the
fit once
village pay
annually,
for
though.
that
No.
course to?
No, it's with our carrier.
Well, it's paid somehow.
So it's not that same guy who did it a couple years ago?
No, it's a new person,
Okay.
but it's still monotonous and
Oh, this one was like,
You didn't get it? Okay.
this
I
one
didn't
was
get
like
it
he was
either.
gonna train us to
I
be
did.
defenders.
you know what I hate about some presentations is when the person just reads directly off
Yeah,
the slides.
yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
okay.
all the person does is read what's.
Yeah,
It's such a waste.
I would like to ban slides for a lot of the presentations.
Yeah.
Because people do that, and then it's like 20 minutes go by and they haven't even blinked.
By the way, Joan, just on that, I did notice there's all kinds of requirements that we post certain things. Did you take it yet?
Yes.
Yeah, there's several items that
Yeah.
require the village and us and the board to actually approve certain components of it. I don't know where you guys do that, but.
Are we under the villages?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're pretty covered under the village, right?
No, it's a state thing. It's,
Yeah, I think we're covered under the villages.
okay. Well, if you look at it, you'll see that there's certain things that need to be actually voted on and approved officially, and I don't know,
We'll look on those.
if the LDC needs to do something also.
Yeah, it's,
Probably not.
I don't know, the way I read it, it seemed like we might have some requirements, so if you could just look into
We'll
that.
look at it.
Okay, anything else? I do want to go into exec session to talk about some, legal matters.
Motion to go into an executive session to discuss legal matters.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Thank you.
And is this a path? This is mostly river. Here, see this right here?
Thank you. Good to see you.
that's,